I would say Cambodia is a really easy place to retire. In terms of the bureaucracy and visa requirements and that sort of things, it's pretty easy, and that makes a difference. And I would also say that the community is very welcoming of foreigners and retirees, which also makes a difference. You don't want to feel like you're not wanted or you're not welcome.
I also have another part that want to ask you, because you are a foreigner and a retirement in Cambodia. So please, could you tell me, like, how long have you been in Cambodia and what motivated you to stay here in Siem Reap? Yes.
So I've been in Cambodia about 15, 16 years. I've lost track. That seems to be easy to do here. You know, time just kind of goes. And as I mentioned before, in the beginning, I was only going to stay for a couple of years and then go back. But I connected with the job largely, but also with the community. And I think I don't speak for all expats. I can only speak for myself. But I think and also, of course, you're going to have expats at different ages, but you kind of mentioned retirement a little bit. I would say Cambodia is a really easy place to retire. In terms of the bureaucracy and visa requirements and that sort of things, it's pretty easy, and that makes a difference. And I would also say that the community is very welcoming of foreigners and retirees, which also makes a difference. You don't want to feel like you're not wanted or you're not welcome. And absolutely, I can say for myself, I feel very welcome here, which makes it also an attractive place to retire. And you know, also a consideration, especially for retirees, is it's affordable. So you know, we can live here and have a comfortable life with the same amount of money that wouldn't afford us that kind of living back in the States, in my case, for example.
Yes, speaking of the location, like you choose specifically for Siem Reap, like is it because it's an attractive place, or is it a place with historicals and also cultural side that you love? That's why you specifically stay here.
I think my personality is more suitable to small town living. So I think in terms of living in a place like Phnom Penh or New York or Singapore or something like that would not interest me, because I like small town living. I like feeling connected and comfortable and walking down the street seeing people you know. I'm not a good student of history. In fact, I'm a horrible student of history. My first visit to Cambodia was maybe a little more than 20 years ago. And I confess, I really didn't know much what I was seeing. But what brought me back were the people I met, and how warm and welcoming they were in sharing their lives. So one example, a tuk-tuk driver at the hotel where I stayed. You know, one day he just says, "Oh, there's a wedding out in my village. Would you like to go see it?" Something like that would never happen back home. I mean, you know, if you go to a wedding, it's because you've known the family forever. So I felt, wow, I'm experienced something I would have never had a chance to. Not sure if that would happen in Phnom Penh or a bigger city, but in Siem Reap, you know, people are just that way. They're just more warm and friendly. And more, the history does attract me, but maybe for a reason that doesn't seem normal, because I may not understand what I'm seeing, but I feel it, you know, and I just, like, a lot of foreigners who don't know much about the history, they can go out to Angkor Park and they can sense something's really different, you know, like, and they might not understand, you know, how that got there, what is the background of it, but they feel something. And I remember during COVID, a friend and I were out there, and there was a foreigner woman that had a yoga mat. And she was outside Angkor Wat, and she put her yoga mat down on the ground and started doing yoga. And we went up to talk to her, and I'm like, "Why are you doing that here?" She said, "Because it just feels right." You know, and I think that's something, it's hard to explain. And I don't want it to be disrespectful to the history or culture, but I can say foreigners, even if they're not aware of it, they can sense it. And I know this is going to be weird too, but one of my favorite places in the park is Death Gate. And I know some of my Khmer friends are maybe not too keen about going there. You know, maybe they feel it's bad luck or I don't know what, but it's where I go when I feel like I want to talk to my family who have passed away. And you know, people have asked me, they're like, well, was your family Khmer? And I said, well, no, not really, but I just think, you know, that's a gate to the spiritual world for me, and that's meaningful to me. But the last thing I would say, the reason I really love it here is the nature. And, you know, when I go out to the park, it's almost never to go to the temples. I like the jungle trails. So I go hiking on the jungle trails in and around, you know, the Angkor Thom area or outside, the trail along the top of Angkor Thom Wall. Kabul Speen just blows me away to go out there and hike up that, and because it's nature and culture at the same time. Phnom Bok, you know, when I get up there and see, I can't say I really understand the history. The first thing I think about is how did they get all of those stones up that hill? But, you know, the nature and that attracts me a lot.
Yes, so also I want to ask you about the challenge that you have faced so far in Cambodia, like living as a foreigner. Would be good to address it, and anything that we can help with? Yes.
I just feel so fortunate that I can be here because, like I said, you know, some countries will make it very difficult for people to stay there. So I can't say that, I would never say that I would recommend a change, because it's very easy in that sense. I think a wish list, if I had a wish list, would be like a permanent resident type card. Like in America, we have the green card. So if somebody goes there and if you're working for a certain amount of time, after a while you can apply to get a green card. It's not the same as citizenship. Like I wouldn't ask for a Cambodian passport, but just like a permanent resident program would be interesting. I lived in Taiwan for a bit, and if you live and work in Taiwan for 7 years, you can apply for a permanent resident type situation. That would be really convenient. You know, it's not that difficult to renew a visa every year, but that would be one less thing to think about.
Yes. How can this card help the foreigner?
Well, just like I said, you know, applying for a visa every year is not complicated. It's not the end of the world. But to have a permanent resident card where you didn't have to worry about renewing it every year. And, you know, as we get older, our memory's not so good, so I don't want to forget.
Yes, yes.
Have to have somebody remind me. But I know Cambodia, they have that, I don't know what they're calling it, like a golden visa or a my second home visa, which is like maybe 10 years or something, but you have to have an insane amount of money to invest. I don't, and I think most people who would like to retire here also don't. But yeah, so like a permanent resident type thing would be really nice.
Yes, so this is a great wish list. And could you say a bit about your encouraging words to the other foreigner who want to retire in Cambodia? And also, do you recommend Siem Reap or else that you would like to say to them? Yes.
Yeah, so I think I would take this two different topics. One is to encourage and one is to advise. So encourage is the easy thing to do. So for all the reasons I mentioned, it's really an easy place to live for a foreigner. And I feel very fortunate that I have this opportunity to do it, because not every country is that welcoming of foreigners. And I'm not complaining about that. I think every country has the absolute right to decide how they want to approach their immigration policies. So, but anyway, I do feel lucky about that. And I do actively encourage people. So, for example, are you familiar with Reddit, the social media platform? I love Reddit. So there's a lot of subreddits on this topic, retiring overseas. So I participate in them. And if, you know, I see anybody asking that I think this would be a good place for them, I will answer that, you know, and so it's an easy thing to do, for the reasons I said. The advice I would give, I think one thing that a lot of, especially Americans, I guess, like maybe I'm generalizing too much, but we don't anticipate problems that are going to come up. You know, and especially as we age, but I think this can apply to anybody, any expat of any age. When you come to live here, you need to be prepared for emergencies. And people don't want to talk about it, you know, like a medical emergency or death. They don't want to talk about it. it's going to happen. Not talking about it doesn't stop it from happening. So I think what I notice is a lot of expats aren't prepared for that. And Cambodia, I think, has to bear the burden for that. And let me give you an example. So there are a lot of retired people who don't have a social network here, or they don't have family, they don't have maybe that big of a friend network, or maybe they have friends, but not the kind who will help them in an emergency. When that emergency comes, who ends up helping them? And it's the Cambodian people, because they don't want to see them suffer. You know, the Cambodian people, whether they have resources or not, will help people. And if you ever get a chance to read a book called Never Fall Down by Arn Chorn Pond, it's kind of his experience of having lived through Khmer Rouge as a young person learning how to play music. And there's a line in there about it's the poorest people who are the most caring and kind and helpful people. And that's kind of been what I've noticed. It's not fair to them. So if you're a foreigner and you rent an apartment and you pass away, who takes care of that? You know, it ends up being the landlord or the tuk-tuk driver. They don't have any money. They don't have the resources to do it. So it's kind of frustrating. So I would just, I encourage people for all of those reasons we talked about. What I like about living here is all the reasons I tell people it's a great place to retire. But I would also advise and caution them that they should be prepared. And I volunteer for the U.S. Embassy. They call us citizen liaison volunteer. So, of course, the embassy is in Phnom Penh, but if there's an American in Siem Reap who has an emergency and the embassy can't get up here, or it's somebody needs to go check on them, I'm one that will go do that. That's a very useful communication facility for Americans who want to retire here, that there are, the embassy's not going to take care of you, but the embassy can help get a hold of your family or whatever. So, I think, I don't know what more I could say to encourage people. It's just those.
Yes, so maybe you can share like your lifetime experience in Siem Reap in a short sentence, please.
Ha!
Just for
Me say a short sentence?
Yes. You can say more.
I can say more?
Yes, about.
I think, so I've just recently retired from Far Circus, or semi-retired. I still help them with e-commerce stuff because that's a gap, I think, here. It's needed in tourism, but maybe the skill set's still developing. But, it's just, when I get up and I have the Angkor Park outside my door, and I can go out in a hike in a jungle that is accessible to me, I love that. And that's kind of my week.
Yes. So thank you so much for coming and also sharing your experience and expertise in the fields. So that's come to an end for our interview.
Okay, thank you.
So much.
Thank you for letting me talk.